He didn't win the nomination, but we wanted to see what ultimately the share of his vote here tonight would look like, and we're looking at about 10%.
The political career of far-right troll James Fishback just went down in flames, and I find his tears absolutely delicious. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet culture, and more. This one is kind of all of the above because we're going to talk about the hilarious and delicious crashing and burning of James Fishback's gubernatorial campaign. He ran here in Florida to try to get the Republican nomination for governor. He lost overwhelmingly to Byron Donalds, who is a congressman and more of a mainstream MAGA Republican, but James Fishback really pandered to the groypers, the alt-right Nick Fuentes fans. He had lots of memes and edits, and he said and did troll-worthy and nasty things, and he really seemed to believe, or maybe it's just another act in his, lying and delusions, that he actually had a shot at winning. And he did win! A whopping 10% or so of the vote. We're going to go through it all and revisit some of his greatest hits to hopefully close the chapter on this embarrassing person's brief footnote in modern political history. First, here's the reporting from election night from MS Now. Let's watch.
We can now project that Byron Donalds, a MAGA acolyte of Donald Trump, will be the Republican gubernatorial nominee in the state of Florida. He will face off against David Jolly, the former Republican congressman who left the GOP after Trump's election. At the top of the marquee race tonight is the race to replace the state's term-limited Governor Ron DeSantis. That is the race. Crucially, DeSantis, he did not endorse in the Republican primary, but as we are watching here, these results come in, Byron Donalds efficiently pulling off a sizable margin of victory over the likes of this candidate, James Fishback, somebody who was a controversial figure within the Republican Party. There was speculation at one time that DeSantis' wife would run for office. That never actually came to fruition. But with the AP projecting that Byron Donalds has won the Republican gubernatorial race here in Florida for a general election that is going to be about 2.5 months in the making here. He did receive the endorsement of Donald Trump. He is somebody who was once floated as a potential Speaker of the House. He's also an election denier who voted to overturn and object to the 2020 election results, one of his first major actions upon entering Congress in 2021. He faced a crowded Republican field, including James Fishback. We could spend a long time tonight about the offensive racist comments he's made during this primary campaign, including calling Donalds, who would be Florida's first black governor, quote, a slave to donors and a DEI Republican. Despite those appeals to MAGA identity politics, he didn't win the nomination, but we wanted to see what ultimately the share of his vote here tonight would look like, and we're looking at about 10%.
Yes, so for all that online hype and all the trolling and all the influencers and the endorsement from Tucker Carlson and all of this, James Fishback got 10% of the vote in a primary election, so barely any votes. And it's worth revisiting, whatever you think of Byron Donalds, just how disgraceful a troll James Fishback actually was. So first and foremost, the thing I couldn't stand about him from the beginning was how he just flip-flopped on all these issues that he had, made his introduction as a political commentator and burst onto the scene about. He went from being a huge fan of Barry Weiss and an ardent supporter of Israel to flipping on a dime and all of a sudden not just becoming anti-Israel, which I guess changing in your position on an issue is one thing, but like blatantly being anti-Semitic and just dropping the most obviously anti-Semitic coded words and phrases and trolling and embracing people like Nick Fuentes, the alt-right, Hitler-loving, anti-Semitic extremist troll. And then, honestly, James Fishback, throughout this career was just just terrible person throughout this campaign. Really, he was incredibly racist to Byron Donalds. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not some woke person. Oh, he made an offensive joke. That's not what I'm talking about. Obviously, Byron Donalds is a black Republican. So James Fishback repeatedly called him Byron, not his name, you see what he's doing there, said that he would turn Florida into a ghetto, called him a chimp repeatedly, and then told a different black man, not Byron Donalds, who had a confrontation with him and brought up one of the many serious allegations against James Fishback that we won't get into here. He said that man should be lynched. So he was just all in on just nasty anti-black racism. He also told extremely bizarre lies over and over again throughout this campaign, like falsely claiming his campaign was banned from IHOP. He made up and shared a fake and false claim that Byron Donalds was under active investigation from the Department of Justice for trafficking, which the DOJ came out and said was not true. And so what he did is, whatever you think of his underlying policy positions or whether or not you like Byron Donalds, James Fishback just engaged in the nastiest, most basement level, racist, dishonest, unhinged campaign style against Byron Donalds. And it got him likes on Twitter from anonymous neo-Nazis who live in their mother's basement. It did. If that was your goal, congratulations. It also got you 10% of the vote. Because as we know, Twitter is not real life. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health issues, you should hear this. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. Now, Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. Click the link in my bio to take a short quiz, as you may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. Now back to the show. Ultra hyper online extreme people with unresolved emotional issues love blatant racism and blatant anti-Semitism and just rank trolling. But normal people don't, actually. They think it's vile and disgusting and pandering to them when I don't know what this dude's deal is. He's clearly deeply psychologically unwell. But whatever is going on with him, he's clearly smart enough to know that a lot of the things he's saying and doing on this campaign trail are totally unjustifiable from a logical or practical perspective. And he just leaned in thinking that maybe, I don't know, maybe he's going to spin off and become a podcast bro or something. Maybe that's what this was all about. He wants to become Nick Fuentes' co-host or something. But whatever it is, it was just despicable and disgraceful, some of the things he did and said and the way he conducted himself on the campaign trail. And so I am so glad to see his political career go down in flames and to see Republican primary voters, again, whatever you think of Byron Donalds, I'm in no way supporting or endorsing him, say no to whatever the hell that was. That James Fishback campaign was one of the most disgusting and bizarre things I've seen in my entire time in politics. Just blatant racism, blatant anti-Semitism, just a troll candidate telling obscene lies about his opponent, lying about his life and himself constantly, and constantly lying to portray himself as a victim, bragging about how he doesn't want to pay his lawyers, just proving himself to be the most unreliable and dishonest person imaginable, and then campaigning on an actual agenda that makes no sense at all. Really, some of the things he was running on were just pure slop, populist slop, or slopulism, as I've heard it called, just meant to pander to people nakedly with no real serious thought or policy implications. So he just ran, for example, on a hoe tax, which, listen, is kind of funny, don't get me wrong, but it's just so deeply unserious as an actual policy proposal. So he wanted to impose a 50% tax on OnlyFans. Now, the only thing that would achieve is just having every successful OnlyFans creator move out of your state, and then you get less tax revenue. And it's like the state legislature would never approve a tax like this. It would probably be challenged in court as kind of unconstitutional anyway. But it's like, it's just something that's just campaigning as a troll. right? We're not going to actually focus on real things. We're going to suggest outlandish things we know will make headlines. That it's just a perfect microcosm of the unseriousness of James Fishback as a person and as a candidate. Same with banning all data center construction, AI data centers, right? He's just embracing like this far left socialist panic divorced from reality. Obviously, data center construction should be regulated and it should be kept in check and made sure that it's not straining electricity grids or other things. But data centers are enormous tax revenue generators. They're huge construction projects and infrastructure upgrade opportunities that it should be, by anybody who is pro-growth, believes in innovation and capitalism, should be done the right way, of course, but should be supported and welcomed into your state, not chased out of your state and let just, I don't know, the billions of dollars of economic activity flow elsewhere. Okay, that's crazy for your whole state. Obviously, you don't want one on the corner next to your kid's school, but Florida is a very big state, and there are plenty of places where it could be appropriate to have a data center if he wanted to just stop construction statewide, because it wasn't actually about having any sort of policy that made sense or was thought through. It was just about pandering and trolling. And there's this populist sentiment, most of which is driven by total misinformation about water and other non-existent or just totally overblown and misinformation-fueled concerns about AI data centers. He just wanted to pander to it. That's really all it is. It's just an entire campaign built around pandering. Same with he just would lie to people and make these promises that he absolutely could not deliver. He promised that he would unilaterally take action to stop all abortion in Florida as governor, which he just has no authority to do legally. The governor can't just change abortion law. And if he tried to, he'd just be blocked by the courts immediately. So he just ran on a totally false bill of goods, insulting voters' intelligence by promising all these things, pandering to their most base impulses, campaigning for Twitter likes, not for actual vote share, just trying to draw attention to himself and in the media in any way imaginable. And it really is the most narcissistic campaign I think I've seen in a very, very long time. And look, he got the attention he ordered. He went viral multiple times. He got himself a bunch more followers, and maybe his career in alt-right podcasting after this might have some degree of success. But is it worth it? Is it worth it to permanently disgrace yourself as a deeply immoral troll who just peddled in the most vile racism imaginable to try to win an election and then got your belt to ass whooping anyway? I don't know. If I was him, I would be humiliated, and I would never want to show my face in public again after this. Just debasing yourself to pander to the most vile and base impulses of humanity, just selling your soul to double down on policy positions you know you can't actually do and have no actual substance behind, and then all of it, and you not even come in close to winning. It's not even like, oh, and he just almost got there, like a Francesca Hong, a radical left candidate in Wisconsin. She got real close to getting the gubernatorial nomination. James Fishback is an afterthought. He is a footnote in this election result. And it's hilarious because one of the big copes is that, well, James Fishback is popular with young people. And then they're pulling this polling data from these college districts to say he got 80% of the vote in this college district. And then you look and it's like, by the way, babe, it's August. Colleges are out of session. And you're looking at a pool of 25 people that voted there in this primary. So not actually a significant portion of the youth vote that's now all Fishback supporters and Groyper supporters. So even that is not really true or real to any meaningful degree, that he's somehow popular with the youth and he's going to be the leader of a youth uprising. And the number of prominent figures that endorsed this ridiculous and noxious figure is actually remarkable. I mean, Tucker Carlson, for example, did a glowing interview with Fishback and really just heaped praise on him because I don't know why. I really don't. I guess maybe it's just all they think about is Israel now or something. And so because he's anti-Israel, even though that's not even a sincerely held view by James Fishback, just a few years ago, he was praising Israel and praising Barry Weiss and all these people. It's just something he's switched on to grift and pander to the current moment. But regardless, it's like, okay, so there's just no standards at all to support these far-right figures. If they're trollish enough, if they're edgy enough, if, I don't know, endorsing them will get you a brief momentary flood of attention on Twitter. Really, the entire campaign. And I thought a couple times about whether I wanted to try to interview Fishback or what have you, but I ultimately just decided against it because he just wants the spotlight. He was never a remotely serious candidate. He's just a kind of a microcosm of everything that's gone wrong in right-wing politics and political media, where the trolling is the point, the substance is optional, and the most nasty, just disgraceful, immoral personal conduct and statements is all just fine if it's just to own the libs or it's all just memes or jokes, but it's really not. The only meme or joke to come out of this whole election is you, James Fishback. It's you. That's my take on his hilarious failure in this Florida election. I really do find his tears delicious. We see so often now in modern times that the worst get on top. The worst really rise to the top and succeed. Just terrible people keep failing up and up and up. That I do have to take joy in the few moments where terrible people do get the comeuppance and the utter public humiliation that they deserve. And this is one of those instances. So sorry, not sorry. James Fishback, your tears are delicious, and please go away. Just exit public life, please. And seek therapy immediately. Other than that, guys, that's my take on the situation. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you aren't yet to hit that like button while you're at it, and consider becoming a channel member to support me. I try to be independent and nonpartisan and criticize the far left and the far right, and unfortunately, that is not always the best business model. So I do need support from viewers like you. The best way to support me is by becoming a channel member here on YouTube. And with that, guys, do be sure to check out the Morgan & Morgan survey link down below. And with that, guys, we'll leave it there for this one and be back with more real soon.